All right, recording is live.
Okay, so my name is Laurie Apple, and this is the Enhancement Sub-Project meeting for September 29th. We have a code of conduct, which is that we treat each other with respect and kindness, so please be excellent to each other. And with that, with our agenda, we have a few items on the agenda already, so if you don't have yours here yet, please post them now. And I believe we have a newcomer to the meeting. So if you would like to introduce yourself, please do, but you're not required. It's up to you.
Hi, my name's Ryan. I work on the AKS team at Microsoft, and I'm just interested to see what this meeting's about.
Okay. All right.
Hello, folks. This is Ryota. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
I work for a tiny startup in Tokyo, and I'm here in London, so the time zone isn't too bad. I just wanted to hear what's going on. So this is the first time. I'm very excited, and yeah, that's it.
So, welcome, newcomers. Curious if there are specific things that you're looking to get out of these meetings that we can help out with.
I was looking at an issue in the backlog that was mentioned, and I didn't know if it would be discussed here or not, so I thought I would join and find out.
Do you want to pop us a link?
Yeah, you can feel free to add that to the agenda, and we can look at it.
I will see if I can find it.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm in Berlin, so Ryota, you're not the only person in a European time zone. So
Great,
try
thanks.
to keep it world
Yeah.
depending.
Yeah, I myself do not have anything specific. I just wanted to. This is actually the first one from the Kubernetes SIGs meetings, so it just worked out from the timing wise. So wanted to hear what's going on.
All right.
Welcome. It's awesome.
Excellent. Okay, so should we just go over the topics for the agenda just so that we call them out? Maybe try to get a gauge time box on each of them so we have time for everything.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so the first one is Jeremy Laurie item, which is basically that in terms of tracking enhancement slip, we've asked in the past, who owns this responsibility? So the suggestion is that this sub-project would own it and hand over global data to the steering committee to support SIGs who are having difficulties with slip. So how much time might we need for that? Is it a slam dunk or?
It's just, I guess, some context. I did an effort, and I think Kirsten has been doing something similar, looking at things that have slipped over multiple releases, trying to see like which SIGs are worse at this. And I think Network was the one that had the most consistent. We proposed something, it's gotten past enhancement freeze and then bumped out, or it's gotten to code freeze and bumped out. I think that it's probably worthwhile to track this. I think it's hard from the release team's perspective because and I think that's where we had landed this originally. And I think it's hard from the releasing perspective because there's just turnover from release to release, and we don't necessarily have a caretaker from like the enhancements team from cycle to cycle because of just people rotating in and out and then people bubbling up to other roles. Seems like it might be a good just like kind of general health from an enhancements perspective and how the process is working. So my take would probably be that like this is something that we could run with as like a little just data gathering and reporting project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do we need to discuss it, or is it a consensus view and we just move to the next topic?
Yeah, we should. We can move soon. I just want to say that it's important. I think that it is not the top of the priority list, at least for us. And so one, we want to make sure that we're actually someone is deriving value from this, right? So we know that it's a thing, but we also know that in data there is some bias. So one of the things I worry about is producing this data and going, oh well, network always
Yeah.
slips. So right. So I do think that this is important as an eventual thing that we want to do. I would say that if it's something that a new contributor is interested in doing, then that might be a nice opportunity to get involved. I'm not sure that I necessarily want to pull time from a sub-project owner to do this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think I added an item at the bottom. It was another thing that was on the release team board that was dealing with, like, what do we do with the exceptions.yaml? Like, it's an older issue that's been open for a bit. I think that also has a related topic, like what value is coming from that file? Like, are we really reporting on that or doing anything with it or not? So maybe these two can kind of like Voltron together to be just a general reporting and status topic that somebody can do some data gathering on, and we can figure out what to do with it after that.
So 2 things. I've reached out to the SIGs about their slips already. I got a mixture of feedback, including no feedback, no response whatsoever from some of the SIGs with the highest number of slips. Some of them with the lowest numbers did respond with, they seemed quite happy to get the information. And then they said, yeah, this is helpful, we'll take a look. So that's one point. The other point would be that we do have product managers who want to help this effort. So if we would like to continue exploring how to better align with SIGs around enhancements, then setting a product manager who wants to support this initiative to go out and collect the data and then use that as a baseline topic for engaging with those SIGs in a discussion about what they're actually trying to achieve at a feature level, that could be a good way for that person to then get a bigger payback for their time. Like it's interesting work. So that's how I could see this being like a threshold thing to do that could go lead to broader discussions.
I think that fits well with what Stephen suggested about new contributors picking this up too. I think getting those people that are interested in being involved, this is like a great thing to pick up for that.
So there are potentially some folks in that camp already. Obviously now the cycle has just begun, but there might be a way for us to actually onboard that person so that when the cycle is over, they could do this work. And maybe even get ahead of some of the problems beforehand that SIGs are facing by like talking to them and coaching them around how to package their KEPs.
So I think 2 interesting things that we're going to start to see across hopefully some of 120 moving into 121 and beyond is that 2 things are happening, right? Or 2 things have happened, right? One, we had an extended period of time between the end of 119 and the start of 120. There's also 3 things, excuse me. There's also discussion. Y'all might have seen a Twitter poll that I tossed up because it's a discussion that people actually want to have about the amount of releases and the release cadence for Kubernetes per year. If that changes, there are things that we can do with the time, right? If it changes to less releases a year, that gives more time. I would want to spread the time that we are not doing a release in between every release, right? Giving time for triage and handling KEPs and thinking about stability overall, since this is kind of like the overarching theme that a lot of people have going into 120. So I will save my thoughts specifically on how to do this for a SIG release meeting, but potentially having that gap in releases, this was always a want of mine. As we were starting to talk about the KEP process and seeing that jump off a few years back, was to have that time to do triage, to do stability, to write KEPs, right? This is, this is something that should be coming out. You should have enough time to get this done. This should be something on your board just the same way that an issue or a PR would be on your board, right, to tackle. And then there's a third piece of this that is gone now. But yeah, so I would, it's gone, it's totally gone.
All right, so I can reach out to the contributor and see if they're really interested, and then I thought there was a decision on the number of releases already. I thought we decided that. No? Oh, okay. I couldn't tell, actually. I was in the meeting and I couldn't tell. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's something that basically we have made a decision about enacting 1 year support, or roughly 1 year support for
I wasn't
releases.
sure if that was hiding this topic.
So so people kind of confuzzled that with also the release cadence, since we changed the cadence for this year, right? Yeah. So the fact that we changed the cadence for this year was just an effect of everything that's going on, not so much an official decision for releases future. So it's still something to be discussed for 120.
All right. Thanks for clarifying that. So I'm going to abandon the plan to go through the topics because we already dove into the first one. But I moved the item from Jeremy to the top, which is because he mentioned that it could go with the enhancement slip data collection, and that's handling the exceptions YAML files. So in the last meeting, we questioned whether we could actually close this, assuming that tooling that is in development or planned to be developed addresses it. This is the
part where someone, maybe me, mentions the receipts process.
Yeah.
And then I also say that this was a crazy 2 weeks, and I had wanted to produce something for you to look at this meeting, but KubeCon has eaten my schedule. So this is the receipts process.
Yeah, which is on the agenda for today.
Where I say that. And yeah, so tracking, I had opened this a while back, as you can see. And kind of the idea was like, we produce this thing, it would be cool if we did something with it. It's YAML, so of course it speaks to like feeding it through some machine and having something happen. Till now, and I think even before this issue was created, we have not created the componentry, or there has not been an interest in creating that componentry to do something with this file. Where I do think it gets interesting is if we start to decompose this file or move it somewhere else, right? If it starts to live alongside enhancements, right? Or if it's part of this receipts process, maybe exceptions.yaml doesn't exist anymore, right? Maybe exceptions.yaml is a directory within the receipts directories, right? That contains all of the receipts that came later, right? This is the kind of stuff that depending on what we decide the presentation mechanism is for receipts, this is the kind of stuff that I could potentially say, because this feeds into the slippage, right? I could potentially say, I want you to read out to me all of the receipts for a specific type of SIG across these 5 releases, right? That are specifically in the exceptions directory of that release, right? Then I start to get a really good idea of like, oh, well, this exception has it pops up in 5 releases. Or this exception only popped up in 118, so on and so forth, right? So I think that, again, receipts will save us from...
Yeah. Do you have time this week?
Yes, I do.
Cool. So let's get offline and negotiate. We'll
Hack
just pretend this
together.
past week didn't happen. Yeah.
It feels like it did and it didn't. It's
I know.
Schrodinger's 2 weeks or so.
Yes. Yeah. So why don't we do that? And then we can use the remainder of this time to cover. So maybe Ryan has posted the item. No, not yet. So Ryan, if you want to go ahead and do that, we do have 2 other things we can get done here today that will chip into our whole efforts, like chip into the ambiguities and
So-
help us set up receipts clearly.
So Ryan, do you have an idea of what the thing was? Maybe our collective
Yeah, maybe
brains
we can
can merge it.
We had kind of a big fire yesterday, so my brain's a little scrambled this morning. I'm looking
I
for
dig
it
it.
still though.
I dig
Okay.
it.
So yeah, just ping us here if you find the item, and we'll pause and get to that. Okay, Ryan?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So the 2 items that I posted here, one I dumped from the doc I shared last meeting, which was an attempt to roadmap this whole process. I've actually gone ahead and done that based on our efforts to try to create this receipts process. So very quickly, the 2 goals that I've now created for that roadmap based on the feedback here is that we will try to get that receipts process implemented by 121. The other thing is that we would like to have a website like what Paris is looking for, but we're going to decouple that completely from the KepCuddle tool. We're not talking about KepCuddle at all right now, but just basically focusing on the functioning website with a search function so we can look up status and author and SIG and those elements. So perhaps we should talk about the website next time,
So
how we would do that.
really quickly, so yes, we are decoupling from KEP-CTL, but the point of emerging this the metadata for KEPs is so that we could slice and dice it with different presentation mechanisms, right? So the website would still be, the website would be backed on the same data that KEP-CTL would be, right?
Yeah, it's just a very different functioning tool.
Exactly, right? So we have, as a community, have done this before in the release notes website. And I believe someone at some point, maybe Sasha, put up a mock of what a KEP tool site could look like. Using kind of like roughly the same code as the release notes website.
Okay.
So we should just do that.
Okay.
We can get someone who is interested and available and has enough familiarity with the release notes website. Maybe that's Sasha, maybe that's Jeff. Not volunteering anyone who's not on the call for work, but ping them and see who's available to potentially work on this, or to train someone up in understanding the release notes website and the flow.
Okay, so I put this on the agenda for the next meeting, just that we have a goal to work towards, like what you just said, and that we talk about, we acknowledge that in the meeting, that what's happening there. All right, so that sounds good. Then the 2 topics here were the KEP template feedback and the KEP itself. So do you want to actually review the KEP itself for which steps in that KEP we have done? There are 7 steps. Or is the template feedback easier for this meeting?
Let's just start with something. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you choose.
All right. So I think actually we should start with the KEP itself, because this will help us frame receipts better for next time. So basically, there were 7 items in that KEP. I've highlighted them here in red. And the questions are, did we resolve this? And if we didn't resolve it, what do we still have to do? So if we click here, this was the first item, standardizing an intra-cap denotation for not resolved. Did we do this?
So yes-ish. It's
Okay.
kind of what's depicted here. I'm not sure. So Tim Hawken did the second run of this KEP,
Mhm.
and I'm unsure how many people are actually using that that notation. The concern with the notation was finding something that was could exist as a comment in certain streams, but not others. So my initial suggestion was to do it as an HTML comment, right?
Mhm.
And something that is an HTML comment does not render within Markdown. So you have a comment that is like, you don't really know that it's unresolved if you just view the Markdown output, right? Because it gets swallowed. So it would be some sort of comment format that is visible in Markdown and HTML.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have to talk to Tim to find out how far that went and if it's resolved or not?
I have a good feeling that outside of generating this KEP, he has not worked on it since then. So
Okay.
yeah, it would be good to have the discussion and see if, like, do we still want this? I think it's a good idea. I think
Okay.
that marking unresolved, right? So my suggestion was having something like an open questions section of the KEP and
Okay.
capturing the things that needed to be resolved there. The want for from Tim's side was to have allow us to put the comments in line, allow us to put, like, so you're kind of not torturing the flow of the KEP. You can see exactly in which section something is unresolved, right?
Okay.
So yeah, so he didn't want to break that out into its own section. And we'll see if this is working, right? Do people even know this is a thing that you can do? And if so, what's usage like?
Okay. So do we have a way to resolve doing it by talking to Tim? Talking to Tim, seeing what's going on. Do people
That
know
will
if it's something
generate,
we can do?
yeah, that will generate more conversation. It won't necessarily solve it.
Okay. Would we rather have more conversation or would we rather solve?
I think it's good to have that context of
Okay.
the intent, right?
Okay.
So we need to have more conversation about it anyway. It may be something that, you know, we may just land on, here's what we wrote in the KEP, let's just use it. Unless, you know, unless people scream about it, then we won't consider it an issue.
Okay. Should we initiate that conversation in Slack here, invite him here? Do you want to do that?
Yeah, give that to me.
Okay.
I remembered the thing that I forgot. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Regarding exceptions and everything. So two of the interesting things that we're seeing is, one, that gap in between the two cycles, but also that we're starting to do the issue triage thing, right? So there are improvements to issue triage coming that will potentially allow people to assess what their current workflow is and potentially improve it. And I think from that improvement, that you'll start to see the people who are slipping may slip less. So just wanted to add that an additional note to slippage overall. I think slippage, I think the slippage problem is a triage problem.
Okay.
Not a lack of want to get KEPs in on time.
Yeah, based on my conversations, I would agree with that. It's a lot of SIGs just haven't been tracking their enhancements. They don't know what the status of it is. They have too many. Months go by.
Yeah, it's like a thing that if it's not active work and you haven't checked in on it in a quarter or so, it's like, you know, lost to the wind, right? You just
Right. Okay, so I would like to run through this list really quickly, like just to get a clear read on like, did we do it or not? And then if we
Let's do
didn't
it.
finish it, what we do. Okay, so the second one is change the name of kept.
Done.
Yeah, okay. So I guess I'm just gonna put a note here in case. Number 2 step is done. Change the name. All right, then third step, metadata split from cut text.
In progress.
Okay, let me see if I have that here. Yeah, so what?
Needs to be done.
Yeah,
So I would say this is where we were talking about stricter validation
okay.
for keps. Essentially, we permit both formats, right?
Mhm.
So we didn't create additional burden for SIGs. And I think we've done that pre-submit wise for roughly 2 cycles, right? We've had the pre-submits in place, so I think it's time to ratchet up the criteria for the pre-submits, right?
Yeah, I asked this question. Did we decide to do this or not? So I think you're
Okay,
answering
yeah.
this question.
Yeah. So
For
we
me.
did not. Yeah. So we did not do that, and we can do that. We just need to make sure that when we do this, it's it's non-blocking as a pre-submit, right? We
Okay.
want to allow people to slowly fix these things. Now there is a way that some repos will capture, like, say, the static check failures in a list, and then go like, oh, well, don't check those static check failures, right? Because we know they exist and someone hasn't gotten to them yet. So I'm wondering if we do something similar here, or we just have the pre-submit report, or a secondary pre-submit report, a stricter validation of these things. So that would be like maybe a strict flag or Boolean option within the kept_val tool to be more strict about some of the validations, and we can decide what that means as we move.
Okay, so how do we get that resolved? Who are the people, Kirsten, do we need to have, who would be the people who could help resolve what direction to take and then to actually do the work?
So we could write the stricter validation, or we could just have people start doing the work, right? And I think that this is a cool thing for maybe an enhancement sub-team member to pick up, right?
Okay.
Essentially, ideally the SIG does it. This is why we were kind of like slow moving. So like I did it for my SIGs, and some people started converting their formats. New ones are written in the correct format, but it's the trailing ones that we want to pick up, right? And maybe we this feels deja vu, so maybe we talked about it before, but maybe we have the enhancement sub team essentially say like, okay, well, you're taking SIGs A through G, you're taking H through blah, and go down the list, and we want to convert all of these into the new format.
Okay.
It's not painful. It's not particularly painful. One of the things that you'd have to worry about is breaking links. So what I've been doing for the SIG release ones, at the very least, or the ones that I've touched in the past, is essentially creating the kep in moving the kep to the new format, and then creating a symlink for it, right? From the old format file location to the new.
Okay, so should we then ping Kirsten and see if this is what she would like to pitch to the team?
Yeah, that should be.
Jeremy, do you want to do that? Because it's in line with your lead.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
You're pretty
And also you have a lot of context on here as well. All right, when the team does that, assuming they do that, would then this item be done? Or is this just a stopgap measure for bigger and better things?
If the team, so the stopgap measure would be implementing the stricter validation, but it's also a future AI that we kind of would want anyway, to prevent regression essentially. But the team going out and doing this would just solve it in the immediacy, and that's failing someone writing the stricter validation. That's something that would just solve the issue for us right now.
Okay, so them actually doing it would resolve. That's the definition of done criteria for this, is doing it.
The definition of done, I guess, would be all of the keps are in the correct format.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
accept, yeah, acceptance criteria here. Didn't give me my extra. All keps are actually in proper format. All right, the next step, remove some fields from metadata. Double check if it's done. So we believe it's done, but we're double checking.
I don't know. Yes is one of the answers. Let me just pop into the kep actually.
Yeah, I pulled it up to you.
Okay, cool.
Almost no keps.
Last updated, I believe we got rid of both. Because yeah, so we prefer the replaces field, and last updated is derived from the Git history. If you need to derive it from the Git history, but we also have a set of we have a milestone struct, and we have the last milestone or next milestone or something. I forget all the fields right now, but we have enough to consider that done. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So the next one is, let me just, yeah, I think we did this, right? Move keps from flat files to directory structure.
This is the validation piece for format.
Okay.
For number four, the splitting metadata out.
Yeah, I guess this is a Kubernetes community item where this is actually, yeah, here we go. So this is where if the enhancements team did the work, that we closed this out, basically.
So Kristen's team has been pinging people to update when they're not in the right format. I've seen that on a couple of the issues. So I think they're pushing on that, and we can just tie this into the last action item to go back to have them help that process out a little bit.
And we might also want to add this to the project board because it's something the team is actually doing.
Yeah.
Is it not currently?
It's on the sub-project board. So add to.
Oh, okay. You mean for the release team? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they're doing the work already. So.
Okay. That said, we should also reassign it. Okay. I think Bob and I are holding that one right now.
Okay. All right. So then this would be. Actually, I'm going to move this up here so that when. This is the validation part. Okay. Then I think I'm going to go back to the kep. So we went through 1, we went through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Formalize, 1 enhancement, 1 kep.
So this was, I think this is like a scope view type thing where I thought this was always formalized. In my head, it's formalized at least. I think that we have officially formalized it though. Okay. So we should consider that done. Okay. If anything, we just want to check the documentation within the repo to make sure that that's a true thing.
There's a couple of open enhancement issues that have like API server network proxy kept to beta, or graduate node local DNS cache to GA. Is this something that we could also have the enhancements team from the release go and like work to update those issues?
Yeah.
So that they're more corresponding to like one-to-one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's another action item. I'll pull all this stuff together for us, and we just have our little batches of eggs. Task eggs. Sorry. I'm a poet, you know.
And I didn't even know it.
Yeah, right? See, I set you up for that.
Team
All
poetry.
right, exactly. All right, and the final one, this has got a checklist. So here's a bunch of things that are not marked off, but maybe some of them have
We can
actually been
talk
done.
through them really quickly.
Do you
I'll
have
try
the
to
checkbox powers here?
I'll try to speed round it. So the tricky thing is it is in a KEP,
Oh,
or it is in a document, which means like it's not an issue or a PR, which means we'd have to actually go in and edit the check boxes as a PR. So really quickly, we have moved existing KEPs to K features. K features no longer exists, or rather K features is now K enhancements. Created a kind KEP label, done. K community label, incoming KEPs as kind KEP, no longer valid, as the things that exist in K community. There are no KEPs being generated in K community right now, or design proposals.
okay.
So let's call it done. Let's call
Yeah,
it done
I mean,
as opposed to yeah.
you could add the check and the PR if you'd like.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is casual work that was done over some cycles. For K enhancements, label incoming KEPs as kind KEP. That is being done via owners.
We jumped down. We may skip this one.
Enable searches of, so you can identify active PR. Oh, that's part of the no longer active, because we did that already. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now we're about down to the this one.
Okay, label incoming KEPs as kind KEP. That is done via owner file.
Okay. Let's see. Oh. And then done via owner file. Okay.
Classify KEP submissions as kind KEP. Yes, we do that as well. That is done. Yep.
Okay. Done. Dawn.
Okay, so moving existing design proposals into K features.
That's marked.
That is done. Moving existing architectural documents into K features, process TBD. So in an old world, when this was SIG PM, I would have said that is something that is not under our purview. It is something that firmly lays with SIG architecture, but given that we are now under SIG architecture, this isn't our purview. And so this is the conversation. This is a larger conversation. This should probably be the bring it to SIG architecture and have the discussion there.
Okay.
And maybe even dropped from the list, right? It's the conversation of like, where do architectural decisions live after the decision is made, right? This is something that commonly ends up in, we will make a decision in a design proposal, or make a decision in a KEP and cement it in that KEP, but not necessarily anywhere else, right? So it's, where do these proposals go to live once they've been enacted as law for the community, right?
We have a meeting tomorrow. We could put this on the agenda.
Yay. Yeah. Is it tomorrow or is it Thursday? Thursday, right?
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. There's
Might be
a day
prod
in between.
readiness. Might be prod readiness tomorrow, but I don't know. Meetings.
Yeah.
Deprecate design proposals. This is done.
But I think the issue is still open, and there's a contributor who is like, can we close this? Can we close this? And
yeah, this is really an artifact of like, we have so many issues open and assigned to various people. So it's not done. It's someone hasn't touched it yet to say it's done. But yeah, as we did the lift and shift from community, K community into K features, which became K enhancements. That was the time
But
that we were doing the deprecation.
But actually, there was an opposition to closing this. I'll dig it up, but
Okay.
there's a reason why it's not closed. It's not that it's not a lack of responsiveness. But I was wondering if, yeah. Create tombstones, redirects.
We did something. We did something.
Okay.
This was for K community, and this is, I want to call it done.
How would we determine for sure? Who knows?
So I think the tombstone was meant to be put in place as we were shifting things around and moving them into K enhancements. And given that that move has been done for several cycles, we can call this done as well.
Okay. Then prevent new cups and design proposals from landing in K community.
This is potentially related to the deprecate design proposals. Because I might be catching the thread in my head now. Because some design proposals contain decisions, and they're in K community, it again goes back to the how do we make decisions and where do those decisions live post design proposal. Some design
so this actually goes here.
Yeah, some design proposals include designs for things that are in place. Like there is one that describes our release versioning system that's the only place we have it documented, right? So there are figuring out what those things are and how to extract them in a useful way to the community, I think is part of that. But the preventing, we had talked about putting a blockade in place, which I believe we did for a certain period of time, and then might have pulled it from K community as we were doing the shift. So I would say that the blockade portion should be done. Anyone who is referring to design proposals should be referring to them as KEPs and looking in K enhancements. So I would say that that piece is done as well.
Okay. So yeah, I just moved it up as part of the SIG Arch discussion.
Yeah,
Where
I
do
think
these live?
Yeah, I think we've gone so far as to implement the blockade and remove it because it was no longer used, right?
Okay. So
full circle.
Yeah. So remove kind kept from K community. Once kept migration is complete.
That should be done.
Okay. And then coordination of existing keps into new directory structure.
That is what we were talking about as an action item for the release team.
Okay. So this is that validation and updating and syncing.
So you can see some of this is like old, and some of this is like new.
Yeah, but apparently we haven't gone through it in some time, so now we have the fresher perspective, which is helpful.
So go down a little. Sorry. Up a little. Back to the checklist. Yeah. Yes. So
all the items.
Yeah, everything else is buttoned up. So.
Yep. So I guess it was part of our receipts discussion. I think your plan was to just basically update the content of this KEP, keep it open, but import the new language about receipts, right?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what happened. I think I know what happened now. Like I was looking at the KEP, and I'm not sure I like the way it's structured right now. It like if as you're going through this list, you kind of see that like this thing jumps back to this thing, and it's I think it might be better if. So yeah, I went into what would it look like to restructure this, and then I got pulled into something else.
Fine.
So yeah, adjust GitHub tooling thing is probably fine and mostly done. I think, this would just become a number 8, right? And then at least with number 8 for the receipt system, we would say that this is net new planned for 121, right, or something like that. I think we would want to be a little clearer about the release boundaries, or somewhat some sort of time indication, because like all of this is like a mix of old and new.
Right. So why don't we hold off on that until we actually do the rewrite together?
Yeah.
Like because we can just write it and have it all kind of mapped out in text.
Yeah.
Because I think we could actually get the second item done here if we scurry, unless Ryan has found his issue. I guess not.
I apologize. I have no small list of issues that I've looked at in my history, so I have no idea which one.
Don't worry. There's always a next time. So you can just
The
come back.
utility better. I think it was tangential to this.
Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, just come back and next time and we'll talk about it. So the next item is capturing and iterating on the template feedback. So this was basically, I guess there was a conversation in all the comments here. Some of these are not action items, they're just observations. And so I don't know what y'all want to do about that, but here are some actual questions that we can run through, and that might put to bed any of those comments. So there's this question, are KEP's design docs or requirements docs? Does that?
No los dos?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's
Why not both?
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like bike shedding to split hairs. Planning to also add an open question section to KEPs. Is this done?
No, this is not.
No.
So this is,
Okay.
I think that in addition to so this is like the unresolved tag thing.
Mhm.
I think that in addition to the unresolved tag, it's probably fine to also have this open questions section, because I think a lot of the times when I'm staring at KEPs, or maybe you're writing KEPs and you go, I don't know yet. I just don't know. Like,
Well, that's the whole nature of development. So
yeah, having a dumping ground to be able to come back and go, okay, well, I know that this was an open question. Let me go back and see if I can weave this through the KEP. Would still be useful. This is an easy win. This is just someone adding it to the template.
yeah, like just the field itself, right?
Yeah. So we should do that.
Okay. Adding the field. Okay, then the next one, specific headings like background and benefits to the project community. Is that done?
So yeah, this would be, I would say that this is captured in motivation, right?
Okay.
So there's a kind of a motivation section for the KEP that I think should capture some of that. In addition to, it doesn't always happen, but having user stories, right? For your
we
KEP.
talked about that before.
Yeah, exactly. Puts you right on the map of like, why is this useful? Right.
This was one of the goals, yeah.
As well as the experience reports, right?
Right. And then the next one is related, like how it benefits users. So that I would just combine that into two.
For sure. Yeah. So it's scope, motivation, goals, as well as the user stories and experience reports kind of cover that base. The question becomes, is that clear in the template? And maybe that's what the question is in the feedback, right?
This is what I'm asking, is like, is this in there yet or not? And if it's not, we would add it. And maybe
it should be, right? I think it's a matter of interpretation, right? So like if someone so going through the feedback and seeing exactly how it's phrased will give us a better idea of what is and isn't done. But I think that these sections are covered from a top level, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, this was just running through, make sure nothing got lost. Making the test plan section of the template more specific. Is that necessary or has been done?
Depends, right? So there's certain KEPs that like don't even, like this KEP itself, right? 617 what is the test plan for 617? Like, it's going to depend on the area that we're touching. I think that it would be useful to have feedback from SIG testing
Mhm.
about what they would be, as well as architecture, right, from a conformance standpoint, about what they would be looking for specifically here.
Yeah.
I think that this is something that I'm happy to say, like, we are not directly responsible for the content, but if you have an idea, we will put the content into the thing.
Basically what this is a roadmap template. And
Yeah.
so you're going to put some things in there and take some things out. And some of these fields would just be optional, and that's it,
Yeah, and depending on the cap, like, it's kind of clear, if maybe it's a process-based cap, like some of
Right.
these, it's pretty clear that, like, there is no test plan.
Yeah.
Which opens up an interesting issue of, like, should there be a test plan, right? Even from, like, the human aspect of, like, how have we tried this out? We're going to kind of seed feedback in 121, and then we're going to come back and tweak it, right? Like, what does that look like? Maybe there's a human contributor release boundary test plan that is not necessarily writing a test.
Well, I think you covered that in the comment about, like, let's loop those SIGs in and get their feedback. So I think that's already done. Using participating groups instead of participating SIGs.
I think we should still do this. This might have been my action item.
Okay. Should still do. There's a grammar typo issue. It seems like if somebody just would fix it, it'd be really easy.
Yeah. What is it?
It's just like date format or something. Oh, no, it's text, actually. I guess dates would be a little harder.
Yeah, we should just do it.
This would be like a good first issue. I mean,
and what is? Yeah, can you scroll over to, or within Tim's text, like those content blocks.
Okay.
They're.
I can. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Approved by the remaining approvers should be. Yeah, and then what does that one say? What? Are they identical?
No, it's
They
no
look...
than and then.
Oh.
Oh,
Kinda
the typo.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's just fix it.
I can do that this afternoon.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yay.
I like fixing spelling errors.
It's cathartic.
Yeah. Love it.
Awesome.
Sometimes you're like, I need brainless work.
Yes, I do.
Here's another one that might be the same. It's like inconsistent instructions for kept file name, which James filed last.
Yes, we should just do this one. And it's rotten. Would you mind? You are not logged in. So
not in this browser, no.
Okay. Yeah.
1538, I'll clear it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you want to do that one too, Jeremy?
Sure.
Get some
15.
therapy out here. Yeah. All right, we're out of time, but we actually got quite a bit done. These questions here are also related to the kept template, but they're more discussy.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think it's like, do we need to discuss or do we need to just do? Might be the meta question for all of these. But you should review them first before answering. Here they're actually about user story generation. So yeah, a lot of this is just basically like about user stories and getting a user story process going.
Yeah. And I think, the holdback for some people is like, how do I craft one? Maybe even.
Yeah.
Right?
So again, this would be a good bridge for those product managers, like the new contributor, right? If there's a product manager who's helping this out, they could actually engage the SIG on this question, like, hey, your enhancements are slipping. Maybe they're really big. Let's take a look and see if you can break them down. No more slip. and I'm here to help you like craft your user stories. So that would be a good contributor job description, like for somebody to do this. And it might even be somebody in the enhancements team right now. They might also want to just do this work themselves, or at least get it going.
Yeah,
But
I
would
think
say
maybe pairing
would-
would be cool, right?
Yeah.
Someone experienced with the process as well as someone coming in new.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess the shadows won't have done it before at all.
I
All
can
right.
I can ping Nabarun and see if he's interested in pairing with anybody on the team since he's got previous experience.
For user story generation, yeah, like getting that kind of conversation going with the SIGs, and he also has those relationships already, so he can pair with the product manager to make the introductions.
Yeah, that's the biggest piece, having that relationship and not necessarily having the sub-project owners have to broker it.
Yeah, that would be a really good match. So I'm gonna follow up there.
All right, cool. Shall we wrap, or do we want to cover
Yeah.
one more thing? Or bless you,
think
Jeremy.
The smoke has been like crazy for the last few days. My allergies and my head is.
Ugh. Sorry, dude. All right. Well, pleasure. Thank you all for hanging out. It has been a pleasure as always. We are on Kubernetes Keps at googlegroups.com if you want to hang out on that mailing list. We're also in the enhancements channel on Slack. So see you around.
See you. It's like a radio announcement.